Okay, so let's start applying our knowledge now. So let's pick one of these homework questions. Let's start with question 1x. So it's 0.468. Okay, so if we write this as a fraction, we know from the last video that the last decimal is in the thousandths. So that means all these numbers will be over 1000. So let's write that. We got 468 over 1000. Okay, now the question is asking us to simplify where appropriate. We know that the last two digits of both the numerator and the denominator are even. That means that we know definitely the number 2 will go into both numbers equally. So let's work that out. So we know that 1000 divided by 2 is 500. So what's 468 divided by 2? Well, let's have a look. So we put the 2 on the outside, the 468 on the inside. 4 divided by 2 is 2. 6 divided by 2 is 3. And 8 divided by 2 is 4. Okay, so now again, we can see that the last two digits are even. So that means that we can divide both by 2. We're assuming that we don't know what the highest common factor is, so we'll just work with the lowest. The reason I'm doing this is because there's really no excuse not to simplify. Even if you don't know the largest common factor, you can still simplify down to its simplest form. You just have to take a few extra steps. So we know that 500 divided by 2 is 250. So let's work out what 234 divided by 2 is. So 2 divided by 2 is 1. We know that there's only, okay, sorry, just give me a second here. Okay, so we know that, okay, let's start again. So 2 divided by 2 is 1. There's only one group of 2 that goes into the number 3. So 1, and we know there's one remainder because there's only one group of 2 that goes into 3, and we have one remainder here. The remainder we put next to the next number inside the division sign. So in this case there's one remainder, so we put the number 1 next to the next number. Okay, so now this number 4 turns into 14. So 14 divided by 2 is 7. Okay, so now we have 117 over 250, and you can't simplify that anymore. So your final answer should be 117 over 250. Okay, so let's try a question from question 2. Let's try W. Okay, so I'll just get rid of this stuff here. Okay, so we have the number 24.345. So we know that the number 24 goes on the outside, and we can see here that the last decimal 5 is in the thousandths place value. So that means all these numbers here will go over 1000. So we can write that 345 over 1000. So we know now that if the last two digits ends in a 5 and a 0, then definitely the number 5 can go into both numbers. So let's find out what that is. So we put 5 on the outside of the division sign and 345 on the inside. We ask how many groups of 5 go into 3. It doesn't. So now we go to the next number. How many groups of 5 go into 34? We know that 5 times 6 is 30. So 5 goes into 34 a maximum of 6 times. So we can write the number 6. Now 34 minus 30 is 4. So we write the remainder next to the next number. So we write it here. So now the number 5 becomes the number 45. So 45 divided by 5 is 9. So we write that down there. Okay, so now we are simplifying, and now we need to simplify this one here, the denominator. You should already know what this is, but if you don't, that's okay. We can work it out. So we ask how many groups of 5 go into the number 1. It doesn't, so we go to the next digit. How many groups of 5 go into the number 10? It goes into the number 10 twice. There's no remainders, and we have zeros left over, so we just add the zeros up on the top, which is 200. And that becomes our new denominator. So the answer you should have got for this question should be 69 over 200. Sorry, 24 and 69 over 200. So as you can see, it's pretty easy. The main thing is to remember that the last decimal, whatever place value it's in this case the thousandths, that whole number, those whole decimals go over the 1,000. If you remember that, then again, these types of questions should be pretty basic.